number of folks who've been working on this issue.
An informational briefing was held at the State House on Tuesday concerning the recent whale stranding on Kauai. 17 pilot whales were stranded on Kauai's southern shore in October. 5 ended up dying. Traumatized residents wanted to know why it happened.
I have to sit at home and look at the news. 5 pilot whales die after traumatizing stranded on Kauai. I know it's sonar. I know it is, but the Navy was so shady and vague in their wording that they don't know what's the sonar. So we're not sure if the sonar will bring these animals on the sand because they was trying to get away from this sonar effects.
At a recent hearing held in Hilo, residents pointed the finger at the Navy, which is accepting public comment on an environmental impact statement for training and sonar testing in Hawaiian waters.
Any incident of a marine mammal appearing on a beach anywhere nearby or maybe even far away has to be possibly attributed to whatever testing has taken place. It's been known that whales, when they're in Hawaii and they change their songs, the humpback whales in Mexico will change their songs as well. So their acoustic ability travels all the way across oceans through thermoclines. We've only begun to understand the sensitive nature of their acoustic abilities.
Mr. Schofield.
During Tuesday's briefing on Oahu, lawmakers discussed some of the findings regarding the stranding on Kauai.
Acoustic trauma in here, and there was some speculation that the Navy may have been doing some sonar work, which you found out in your report that they were not 24 hours previously from the event. Is that correct?
And that's correct. 5 nautical, within 5 nautical miles and 24 hours, 5 nautical miles.
Okay. So when you do the biopsies and the autopsies of these whales, how do they know if, in fact, it did come from that? Because when it happened and I saw the reports, I did call the captain from the base and he told me that they weren't doing any exercises. So how would NOAA and anyone else know if it came from that?
Again, Dr. West is going to get into those details about at the tissue level, but what we would like to remind people, because we hear a lot when there's whale strandings, people automatically look to what the Navy was doing, and I just would like to make a statement that I've been working with strandings for about 30 years all around the world, and marine mammals will strand for many different reasons, and it can be disease, it can be plastics in the stomach. Yes, it can be sonar, but that's in the minority. Again, our ocean's healths are deteriorating, and we're seeing animals strand for many different reasons besides just Navy sonar. But there are diagnostics like looking at gas bubble formation in vessels within mesenteric arteries and looking at the ear bones and things like that, and those are ongoing, and Dr. West will speak more closely to that.
State and federal agencies told the representatives that they are looking into any and all potential causes of the deaths of the 5 pilot whales.
Doing a lot of research about how this could be linked to the possible rat poisoning on Lehua, and how the fish or whatever the whales may have eaten might have caused their deaths. I know there has been talk coming from government agencies that it's probably not linked at all, but I would like to make sure that we have an agency that we can trust to get the information out, because this is a government operation. Sure. And I know that if it is found that rat poisoning was the cause of this, that it would be bad for the state. But I really want the public to understand that we are doing our best to get the information out. And it's just coincidental that the information that came out today in the press is saying that there is no poisoning of the fish from the Diphysanon. Okay. Now, I did see pictures of the whales, and there was significant bleeding. I don't know where the bleeding was coming from, but I assume it's from their mouths. And from your report, I can see that there was hemorrhaging, although it is assumed that the hemorrhaging could be caused by them hitting the rocks. However, we know that the rat poison is a blood thinner, and you don't have the results yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So again, Dr. West will get into more detail on this, but I'll just give you a basic overview of how we normally operate. So when there's a stranding, there's a whole suite of tissues that are collected, and those tissues are sent to different labs around the country. In the case of the concern about the rat poison, there were liver samples sent to a Fish and Wildlife Service laboratory in Colorado that can look specifically at the levels of anticoagulants in the tissues. So those results will be pending, and we will definitely be transparent about them. They will come through NOAA Fisheries when we get the results, or the state, likely the state actually. But as far as the bleeding that you saw, yes, there was, when these animals strand, they're very heavy animals. They're not used to the weightless environment. They're used to the weightless environment of water, and when they hit the beach, there's often a great deal of trauma just from that. In addition to that, there were reports of the whales from the responders that were there, of them actually bashing up against the rocks in Wili Wili Harbor before they hit the beach. So we expect a lot of that bleeding to be a result of the physical trauma of stranding.
Okay, so back to our Kauai mass stranding. As I think everybody knows, we had multiple whales that stranded on Friday the 13th in October, and we think that this was a group size of about 17 whales, which is very consistent with Dr. Baird's work that shows that our pilot whale groups in Hawaii, the size of those groups averages 18 individuals, and at one time I believe the maximum was 7 animals on the beach, and there was a continual effort to push those animals back out to sea and help herd them out. 2 of these animals died in the beach in the morning by approximately 8:15 a.m. And then by 3:30 that afternoon, 3 more were found floating in the bay. All 5 whales were necropsied on Kauai. The necropsy conditions were a little challenging for us. I'm sure you don't remember that this was a thunderstorm, lightning, downpour evening, and we were in the field trying to do the best forensic work that we could. Our team started mid-afternoon on the 13th, and we finished mid-afternoon on the 14th. So it was a 24-hour event. And the reason for that is really because we wanted to make sure that we could get the freshest samples possible so that we would have the ability to do all of the analyses that I'm going to mention to you today. At necropsy, we first externally examine the animals, then we internally look at every organ system. We call this a gross examination because it's using the naked eye. And then later, the samples that are collected at this time are looked at microscopically by veterinary pathologists to see what else they reveal at that level. We're looking at probably an acute cause behind this mass stranding based on all of the food in the stomachs and that fresh ingesta. We have been able to rule out sickness and disease in the 5 necropsied animals. Unfortunately, we don't know about the others. So there were 17 whales in the bay. We'll never be able to fully rule out that another animal was a leader and brought the group in. We only have the 5 that we examined. We believe we're likely looking at pelagic pilot whales, oceanic visitors, and this actually has implications when we think about the potential for underwater sound impacts. So Dr. Baird's work off of Kauai has shown that the resident animals of short-fin pilot whales in Kauai and Niihau waters are actually very used to underwater sound based on just growing up in an environment with a lot of military testing and training. They put tags on animals, watch sound be emitted, and watch some of the whales swim closer to the sound. They don't behaviorally react if they're resident. However, pelagic or open ocean ones that are visitors to Kauai may be more likely to exhibit a reaction if underwater sound played a role. We know that the Navy has said that they were not training or testing within 5 nautical miles in 24 hours. There was a NOAA ship in the area, but the echo sounder was off. I certainly think it would be valuable to try to determine more from vessel tracks in the area and see if there was a potential source of sound that may have played a role. Obviously, several pending analysis underway. Lots of information is going to trickle in over the next several months. And just like to end by pointing out that we got a lot of scientifically significant information from a really unfortunate event. So part of the goal of our program is just to maximize the opportunity to learn about these whales. We're not going to be able to properly protect them unless we understand how they live. We're not going to be able to address threats that they face unless we know exactly what those threats are, and then we can start to address them.